Madina, 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 Madina.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today we are going to talk about Birr al-Yatim, taking care and doing good with the orphans. We see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Kahf ayat number 28 says, وَاسْبِرْ نَفْسَكَ مَعَ الَّذِينَ يَدْعُونَ رَبَّهُمْ بِالْغَدَاةِ وَالْعَشِيِّ. Allah the Exalted says, and keep yourself, O Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, patiently with those who call on their Lord morning and evening. And the second reference is from Surah Ad-Duha ayat number 9. Allah Ta'ala says, فَأَمَّا الْيَتِيمَ فَلَا تَقْهَرْ. Therefore treat not the orphan with oppression. And here we will see that first of all, what is the meaning of an orphan? Orphan is someone who does not have a father. An orphan remains till the age of puberty, meaning you can call an orphan till the time he has reached puberty. Once he has reached his puberty, whether girl or a boy, then they may be under guardianship of someone, but they will not be called an orphan. So here we see that we are commanded, what we have been said is that first of all, Nabi Sallallahu is being addressed here, and Allah Ta'ala says that you keep yourself with those who call Allah in the morning and in the evening, and be patient with them. Why? Because you see, number one, in the times of Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu, those who brought Iman were always the weaker ones, and to keep the weaker ones amongst you means that you are trying to give that what they may have been deprived otherwise. For example, look at the masakeen, the needy, and look at the orphans. At times orphans even have wealth, but they lose on love and affection by others. So if you have people around you that need this love and affection, and you can provide this very patiently, then provided that they are the ones who call upon Allah morning and evening also, that means they themselves are good people also. So keep them around you. And this, of course, in today's life, if you will imagine somebody who is keeping the masakeen around him, or he's keeping the orphans around him, number one, this gives an opportunity to do much more good as compared to other situations. Number two, takes away the greed. When you are in people who are less privileged, then the urge of greediness is reduced. Similarly, stinginess is taken away. Why? Because then you see an opportunity to spend, then your stinginess goes away. And then the element of gratitude that comes within us when we are around people where we are able to help, then the gratitude comes that Allah, it's your blessing that you are able to help provide others. And this brings humility. And then this brings no competition. Why? Because then we are all equal. There is no competition. When you are in the society of elite, every time you must have noticed that there is a hidden competition going on, a hidden comparisons going on. And then there is a rut, and then there is a race of trying to prove better than the other. But when you are in an environment of such needy and orphans and people who are less privileged, then there is no competition. Then you are at the giving end. And when you are at the giving end, this brings a feeling of satisfaction and peace within us. And secondly, it was said to Nabi Sallallahu that treat not the orphan with oppression. Nabi Sallallahu himself was an orphan, and Allah Ta'ala brought him out of orphanage. And we see that the same rule applies today. That, for example, if we have children around us who are orphan, then the first thing as a good character is that do not be very harsh and strict with them. This does not mean, again, not to look into discipline as for the guardians, but this is as per our speech, as per our treatment to the orphans, we can't be very harsh with them. A lot of people, you must have noticed, that they start to beat up orphans. Why? Because they know he doesn't have a father, the mother is in the house. A lot of orphans work in shops, in factories, child labor, and they work in homes, and then we think that there's nobody to look over them, so it's up to me the way I want to treat them. Allah has put this condition that you cannot treat them with harshness. And again, a society is always healthy where the richer people can help support the poor, can help support the underprivileged. And this is the sign where you can say that we are trying to keep the concept of a society alive. And above that, Allah has kept tests for all of us, and it has been kept in different situations. Like somebody is going to be tested while he was an orphan, and then when he reaches his rushd, then his matters are going to be different. Some people have been tested by becoming guardians of such orphans, and there are other examples. But to complete a society, we have to take care. Why? Because this is not just the duty of the guardian, but then it comes on to other members of the society as well. In Surah Al-Ma'arij, it is said that such people always keep a share for the underprivileged. And in Surah Al-Mudassir, it is said that when people will end up in hellfire, and the angels are going to ask them, what made you end up in hellfire? So in one instance, it will the mustahiqeens. We did not feed the needy, and amongst the needy are the orphans also. So, and then in another instance in the Quran, it is also asked, they said what to spend and where to spend, and then they are guided that you can spend on your parents, you can spend on your relatives, and then you can spend on the masakeen, on the needy, again covering the orphans. So why is there this concept given to us is that these people cannot give you anything in return. Normally when we spend on someone, we do have expectations that he is going to give us something in return. But in this case, you are only at the giving end and you will not get anything in return. Therefore, the ajr, the reward to serve an orphan is abundant. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, in this hadith we will see that it comes that Sahal bin Sa'd radiyallahu anhu narrated, Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, I will be like this in paradise with the person who takes care of the orphan. Allah's Messenger raised his forefinger and middle finger to show the illustration. These two fingers are so close, there is no gap. That means those who take care of the orphans will be with Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in Jannah. And we also see that in another reference to hadith, it is said that when a widow, she does not go into remarrying just for the sake that she wants to take care of her children and she wants to protect them. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that I have seen a widow before me trying to enter Jannah. And then he asked, who is she? So he was replied that this woman is a woman who does not want to marry again just for the sake of her children, so that she can provide them protection and shelter and food. Although she has all the right to remarry, there is no obligation for her to take care of the orphans. Why? Because this is again going to become a duty for the members of the society and members of the family to take care, and she can always go into remarriage. But look at the reward for such a woman. And for all those who go into guardianship for orphans, that they may be like this with Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. That means this is one of those ways, a very simple way, although hard, but a simple way to get into Jannah. Then we also see that it is not something about emotions that you take a guardianship of an orphan. We must look around our families also. If we have such cases in our families, what are we doing in return? It is very hard, of course. You need to be very patient here, and you need to be consistent. You can't just pick up something emotionally and then you fail to do so. So we see that in this other hadith that is said, according to Hazrat Abu Huraira radiyallahu anhu, he narrated, a person complained to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam of the hardness of the heart. So the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if you want that your heart should be soft, then feed the poor and stroke the head of the orphan. Feed the poor and stroke the head of the orphan. This, like when we were discussing the affection with children also, we discussed that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to stroke over the heads of little children. And here also we see that it is said that you should stroke the head of a orphan if you think your heart is hard. And what is the hardness of the heart? When you don't feel like doing good to anybody. This is hardness of the heart. And you feel this stinginess within you. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying, go feed the needy. Because you see, feeding food is your first requirement of life. That's the first survival. And if you are fulfilling the first survival, then if you look, people are making money only to run a good life, right? And the first thing is that they want to eat. So if this is taken care of by somebody, then you are only left with shelter and clothing. But the first thing before clothing and shelter is food. And here we see that the second thing said was that you stroke the head of the orphan. And this physical touch, the feelings are definitely then transferred. So one must keep looking around, and you must have seen that a lot of orphans before puberty, they are very resistant. You want them to come close to you, or sometimes you want to talk to them, sometimes you want to touch them, but they just step back. Either sometimes children are very scared for what they have gone through. We all never know the conditions where an orphan is bringing up. So at times they resist, they become stubborn, they don't open up before others. But again, this does not mean that one should not keep on trying. One should keep on trying to bring them close, to show them signs of affection and love, so that they can become a normal part of the family and the society. We see in our next hadith, this is by Hazrat Abu Huraira radiyallahu anhu, and he narrated, Allah's Messenger said, O Allah, I warn people regarding the rights of two weak ones, the orphans and the women. Now the second thing said in this hadith is that you need to take care of the orphans and you need to take care of the women. Why women? As orphans are weak, women are also weak. First, let's just conclude this topic about orphans, and then inshallah we'll talk about women also. If you will look at the lives of the Sahabas, Sahabas' homes were orphanages. Abdullah bin Umar, it is said about him that he would never eat alone. He would always bring some orphans with him, mustahikeen with him, while he would have his food. In an instant, it is said that there was this one garden of someone, and there was a case brought before Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and there was this case between a man and an orphan. And it so happened that the case went in favor of the man, and this was about some garden, about some orchard. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam requested the man that let go of your right and give it to the orphan. He said, I am not going to do that. So this case was said before Hazrat Abu Zar radiyallahu anhu. When he got to know, he had an orchard also, which was far better than the one this man possessed. So he went up to him and he said, you can exchange my orchard for yours. And he agreed to it, and then Abu Zar took it from him and gave it to this orphan. Now if you will see lawfully, because we see that this orphan started to cry, and Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam felt very sad, and this is why Abu Zar he came and then he exchanged and gave it to the orphan. And if you will look at this instance, lawfully, of course the case went in favor of the man, so why would the orphan cry, and why would someone else come and give his good orchard to someone else in exchange to the orphan? Why would anybody do that? And this is not a good discipline. Yes, those things are correct in their own way, but here we are talking about humanitarian grounds, where Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam interfered in such a way that the orphan was compensated. Again, keeping in mind that Allah is going to compensate you when you compensate others on humanitarian grounds. Lawfully, maybe that was not the need. So we see that. Secondly, as per orphans in the families, it should be that there should be guardians or someone to watch over the guardians also, because in our society you will have seen that and also in the olden times, people used to marry girls who were orphans so that they could take their wealth. And even now, if somebody as a guardian is taking care of the wealth of the orphan but he has bad intentions, then there is nobody to watch over them. No government can come and interfere, and no one in the family may even get to know what is going through the orphans. So even in families, there should be people who can watch over such people. How are they taking care of the orphans? And these rules have been set by Allah that we need to follow. And if somebody can watch over, then at least the rights of the orphans will be given to them. They are not deprived of them. Now in this hadith, it was also said that orphans and women, if we see, and if we are talking about widows, women as per generally, and widows we can take in a special context. First of all, we see that the wives of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Hazrat Khatija, Hazrat Zainab, Hazrat Maimuna, Hazrat Salma, Hazrat Hafsa, Hazrat Javeriya, they were all widows. And like I just told you, that there is this lady widow whose step Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was shown before him trying to enter Jannah. And then we also see that these rules that have been set were Makki as per the Mustaqeen and orphans. At this point, even the rules, the obligations for namaz was not introduced. These were the general rules of the society that were laid, that you have to be kind to the Mustaqeen and to the orphans. So we see that as far as the rights of the women are concerned, from the time a girl is born, first of all, in our society, people are not very happy when they get to hear that somebody had a daughter. Then when she is living through her life, the time comes for her marriage, and for marriage at times the education even is, girls are not provided education, thinking that they just have to take care of the house, so they don't need to go and educate themselves. We do see that Hazrat Aisha radiyallahu anha was educated through Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and when she got widowed at the age of 18 years old, she served the deen for the next 48 years. And people like Hazrat Umar and Hazrat Abu Bakr used to come and take education from her, of course from behind a veil, but they used to come and ask her a lot of fiqh masail. And we see there have been women in thousands, almost 6,000 to 9,000 ladies that come in history who have educated others. So we do get the guidelines of education for girls in Islam. Secondly, we see that when the time of marriage comes, again sometimes the girls are not taken permission from, whereas Islam gives very clear indications. I think this is modernism, that the girls are given the right to say yes or no, and no parent as being parent can object to her yes or no. They cannot force her in the case of no, and they cannot refuse her in a case of yes. So we see that sometimes they are not even asked, and they are married to people who the parents don't even know who they are, and sometimes they sell off their daughters to such men. Then we see when she is married, she is at the mercy of the relations of the husband. She is at the mercy of the husband, she is at the mercy of the relations. She has to fit into everybody's boxes, and if she fails to fit in anybody's box, then the repercussions we all know. Then the matters of divorce and the matters of separation, and in the case if she becomes a widow, then we see that she is deprived of so many other things. Then when it comes to inheritance, she is again deprived of inheritance, either by the relations of the husband or by her own brothers. So you see, there is a constant what you can say, there is a constant difficulty as compared to men in the life of women, where they are not supported by men, and they are weak by nature. They can't even prove their arguments right at times. All they can end up is fighting, but they cannot prove themselves right, although they may have a lot of things to say. So we have been guided here by the ahadith that these are the two weak people of the society, the women and the orphans. So you need to treat them good. And lastly, it is said that Abu Darda radiyallahu anhu narrated, I heard Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam say, search me in the midst of the weak among you, for verily you will be given provision and help due to the weak among you. This is the distribution of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we all need to accept this distribution. Some will be rich and some will be poor. Some we may be dependent upon and some will be dependent on us. This is a very natural process of society that Allah has set into generations, and we have to accept it to the fact that if I have to take care of someone, or if I have to provide a provision for someone, or if I am put into such a situation, then I should not feel bad about it. Because there was this instance of a brother who came and complained to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam about his own brother who was probably not mentally well and he could not make money. So this elder brother had to support him. And he came to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and in a way he complained that why is it up to me that I have to support him. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam clearly said to him that what do you know that the provision you have is because of him, and the day you say I don't want to support him, what if Allah takes away your provision also? What are you going to do? And if you remember in the case of the orchards where there were these this story comes in the Quran, and where there were these children, these sons, and the father always used to divide the profit that he used to earn from his orchards by giving 1/3 to his family, 1/3 was reinvested, and 1/3 was given as sadaqah. So the sons thought that this man, our father, was very silly on his part to give away to the needy, and we are not going to do that. So when one day what happened, when the father probably passed away, these children decided that next morning, when the fruits will be brought down, before they are given to the needy, what we are going to do is we are going to wrap it up and bring it home. Why should we give it to the needy? Well, they all planned it at night, and they were all set to leave early morning to do it before the people came to take it. And it so happened then next morning when they reached their orchard, they saw that there was nothing over there. And then they kept asking one another, have we come to a wrong place? Is this not our land? But what they saw was that everything was destroyed overnight. For Allah, it is not difficult to just take one wind and to destroy the entire land. And this is what happened. And then they started quarreling between one another. This is what happens when you get into a loss. Then you start fighting amongst one another that why did I listen to you? Why did I not do what I was saying? And then the quarrel starts. And then they realize that their father was very wise. And this is why his provision continued, because he was supporting the masakin. He was supporting the needy. So in this hadith we are clearly told that the provision, you will be given provision and help due to the weak among you. So never one should feel that why should I do this, and it is costing me a lot of money, and there are others who can take care of it, why me? No, whenever such a situation comes, then one should say to himself that Allah has given this opportunity to me, I should accept it, and I am going to make it work out. Why? Because in Allah, every man, whoever goes into supporting others, Allah says Allah comes in to support him. And especially in Qiyamah, when there will be a lot of destruction for all those who had supported others in dunya, Allah is going to take away a lot of difficulties of Qiyamah from them. And what more do we need? It's like boarding and lodging is free. Your boarding and lodging is free when you start worrying about others. There's this lady who went to this man and she said to a teacher, and she said that my child has a need. So what did he say? He said, go feed others and your child will start eating himself. You start worrying about others and Allah will worry about you. He is going to take care of you. So we also see that last of all, one must remember that as far as women are concerned, this element in the society of depriving women of their rights, and we see people are going into women are coming up with their rights and for women's lib, but for Jannah there are 8 doors, and for a woman all the 8 doors will be opened only and only if she is obedient to the husband and she takes care of her modesty and she says her namaz 5 times. So we see that in this case women have been given their rights by Allah, which we as the members of the society have to fulfill. The orphans have been set their rights by Allah, which again the society has to return. And may Allah give us the tawfiq to take care of any such who come our way. Inshallah, we are going to meet next time. We end our program here today. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.